Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Omar Farmer. I'm the chairperson of the Alameda County Veterans Affairs Commission. I'm going to be your host for today's event for the unveiling of the Black Veteran Historical Corridor. Yeah, that's right. Let's give it a round of applause. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If I can get everyone to please rise. Color guard, post the colors.
Detail, halt, left, page.
Now I'd like to invite Peace Creel to the podium. She's a student at the Oakland Military Institute. She's going to sing the national anthem.
Present, hard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly gleaming, and the rugged straggler, the bombs burst in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you.
Post colors.
Please be seated.
Dismiss.
At ease, color guard. For the uninitiated, if you can see this table next to me, this is called a missing man table for all of the soldiers that went missing in World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. Our total number of Americans that went missing during that time period is over 80,000. So please join me in taking a moment of silence for all POW MIAs, as well as for our two deceased honorees, Sergeant Morrie Turner and Major General John Stanford. Thank you. Moving forward, welcome. Thank you everyone for being here. This has been years in the making, completing this event. It's really great to see a lot of old and new faces. In this effort to rename these three streets after these amazing individuals, the the most unique thing about it is that this is the only type of corridor like this nationwide. There's no other effort nationwide where so many Black veterans are honored in the same location concurrently. So that's why we're calling it the Black Veteran Historical Corridor. It's a huge accomplishment not only for veterans, but for Oakland. This is literally a historic day right in your backyard. Another reason why we're doing this whole ceremony is because oftentimes the people being honored here were treated like second-class citizens while they were in the service and afterwards due to Jim Crow discrimination laws. So this is an opportunity to not only honor them, but to treat them and their families like first-class citizens like they always deserved. And just to talk about some of their accomplishments, for example, take Sergeant Morrie Turner. Not only was he a mechanic for the legendary all-black fighter pilot squadron, the Tuskegee Airmen, but after he left the service, he created the first cartoon strip made of ethnically diverse characters that was nationally syndicated. So he did a first in that arena. Or take Major Howard Jackson, who fortunately is here with us. We salute you, sir. Thank you for being here. Major Jackson's really amazing. I know a lot of you have met Major Jackson. When he served in Vietnam, Vietnam is the first war to not be segregated between white and Black troops. But during that time period, only 2% of all officers, armed forces wide, were actually made up of Black officers. So it was a really, tough time to be an officer back then, and officer first to some respect. And as some of you know, who are also soldiers in Vietnam, I see some Vietnam veterans here in the audience. During the war, there was a lot of racial strife in Vietnam between Black and white troops because while segregation there had ended, there was still a lot of de facto segregation. And so there was a lot of racial strife and overt racism. And Major Jackson, what he did is he advised his commanding general on those situations, making sure that Black officers got treated with dignity and respect. And a lot of his efforts resulted in what became the first human relations department in the armed forces. And he continued to do this work as he got out of the armed forces in his role as a consultant through human resources departments. And just think of it like this. So today we have equal opportunity initiatives, things like that, diversity, equity, and inclusion. He was doing that in the military back then. So please, let's just give him a round of applause. Last but not least, Major General John Stanford. So where we're standing right now is the site of the old Oakland Army base. And Major General John Stanford, not only was he a Major General, which means that he was a 2-star general, this is also the site where he was the first and only Black commanding general of that base. So it's very appropriate to also have a street plaque named after him. And his son, Steve Stanford, is here. Steve, you can just raise your hand. Let's give the Stanford family a round of applause. And we also have Morrie Turner's son here sitting. Let's also give the Turner family a round of applause, please. And just to me, on a personal note, these men or profiles encourage, honor, commitment. You oftentimes hear that as like a buzzword in the military, but they actually lived it and delivered it. So I really appreciate them, their perseverance, their commitment, and their vision. I think that it's something that all Americans can and should aspire to be. And Black military history is a cornerstone of African American declarations for equal rights and opportunities. So we hope that this initiative, how we're memorializing it, we hope that it inspires others to overcome adversities so that they can grow and flourish and be more self-sufficient. So with that, we're going to move forward with the next speaker. who's going to be Councilmember Fife, who is a very near and dear person to me. One thing about Councilmember Fife is that none of this would have been possible without her. She brought forward the resolution to be approved to install the streets to City Council, and it got approved, obviously. And just on a personal note, I want her to know how much I admire and respect her and believe in her as a person. She's all about community and for standing up for what's right and for taking care of her people. So I really appreciate that about her. Councilmember Fife, you have the floor.
Oh my goodness. Omar said all these things about me. I feel equally as honored to know him. He is one of the most principled, consistent, self-sacrificing individuals that I see on a constant basis in working for the city of Oakland. So he says that this wouldn't have happened for me. I did the formalities, right? I brought the information to council, but the work that I'm standing on are the legacies of individuals for the reason why we're here today. So, and also you, Mr. Farmer, thank you for everything that you do. So as Mr. Farmer stated, my name is Carol Fife. I am the district council member for Oakland's District 3. That's the area where we are right now. And I have to also thank the men in my life that also were a part of military service. My father was in the Army, all of my uncles on both sides. And it creates a system of structure and discipline in your life that's difficult to get if you don't have that experience. But also what they went through at that time, being Black men in military service, is something that I don't think many people understand because it's not something that we talk about in our history books. And so the fact that we're here making history today, I hope that we have some educators here that are going to tell the story of the individuals in this pamphlet so that they can know the shoulders upon which they stand. We're here today to recognize a class of people who often are invisibilized in American culture. When we speak about sacrifice for country and commitments, you don't often see the Black military veterans that we're here to honor today. We're celebrating their achievements of overcoming despite overwhelming obstacles. We're here to celebrate the fight that they put out for our country, but often had to come back to a fight on US soil. We're here to celebrate what they've contributed to their country, what they've contributed to their communities and families, and we're here to stand in honor of Morrie Turner, Howard Jackson, John Stanford, and the unveiling of the Black Veterans Historical Corridor. There's not enough that's discussed about how wealth is built in this country. When we see instances of violence on Juneteenth, it's the day that we're supposed to celebrate freedom for African Americans in this country. What's not discussed is how we got to a place where Black people have not been able to gain the generational wealth that came with being able to buy homes, being able to get access to higher education. Those are things that the GI Bill offered to Americans who fought in the war after 1944. But the reality is those things weren't able to be accessed by Black veterans because of systemic racism. Intentionally, our governments moved the resources from the federal government to the state government, and that allowed state governments to engage in redlining and other tactics of racism that did not allow Black veterans to pass down wealth generation by generation. So when we wonder why there's a difference between what white families have and what Black families have, we can directly tie that to the institutional racism that was present in our government and the lack of access that veterans have. And despite all of that, I know for a fact, because I know Regina Jackson, that those obstacles didn't stop many of our veterans. I know that despite they have overcome and been able to pour into their families, pour into their communities, to continue to serve well after their military service was over. So I'm not going to be here because we're here to celebrate them. I want to hear from our veteran that is here to speak to us today. But I want us to recognize when we see incidents happen that are of violence, dis-ease, unhealth in our communities, understand the resources that went to other communities to address helping them create strong communities, because that's what we need today. There's an active bill in Congress that failed twice, that was intended to restore the benefits that Black veterans didn't get from the VI bill to the remaining descendants of the people who've passed away. We need to support that, right? We need to support the elected officials that are still doing the work to make sure we see justice today, because justice delayed is justice denied, and we won't have that. I am done. I will conclude my remarks, but I also want to recognize that they fought for our broader family, not just the Black family, but the human family, and that's part of what we're here to celebrate today. Thank you all.
All right, thank you very much, Councilmember Fife, for those powerful words. I agree with you 110%. Our next elected official will be Deputy Mayor of Oakland, Dr. Kimberly Mayfield. Please join me.
All right, Carol. Carol's my former student, so I gotta say it. She's ever powerful. So good morning. I am Dr. Kimberly Mayfield, and I have the pleasure of serving as Deputy Mayor for the phenomenal, wonderful city of Oakland. In Carol's path, I will acknowledge the Black veterans in my life, my father, Aubrey Mayfield, and my uncles, William Gary and Aris Gary. And for them, they were able to begin to build Black wealth for our family by using the GI Bill to go to college. And so what's so exciting about that is I was always able to say that I was not first in family because they had served. Today, we are honored to recognize the service of 3 phenomenal Black veterans: Major General John Stanford, Major Howard Jackson, and Sergeant Morrie Turner, who, like me, millions and millions of children were able to benefit from his comic strip. By creating a Black Veterans Historical Corridor comprised of their name plaques. What's so important about that is that we are building a legacy for generations to come. We're not only commemorating Black military history, but Black history. We need to be able to name the places that we made significant contributions. And when I was growing up in Oakland in the 70s and 80s, so many of my parents' friends who were African American worked at the Army base. And so to be able to name this after 3 Black veterans is so powerful, because whoever drives by here will be able to say, oh, well, who are those people? And they can look them up on Google and they can see that Black people were here. And since I'm an Afrofuturist, I'm claiming that Black people will be here for generations and generations to come, and our history will be documented in these name plaques. So thank you so much for being here today and for being a part of this amazing history.
All right, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Mayfield. We're going to go to our first honoree, Major Howard Jackson. Please join me at the podium. Regina, would you like to introduce him as well? Round of applause.
So first, we want to give a big shout out to Omar Farmer and the Alameda County Veterans Commission for putting this on and paying for it. I won't be long, but I do want to say that I have an interesting history in that, at least briefly, I knew all 3 distinguished honorees today. Major General Stanford, I got to work with Sergeant Morrie Turner in my youth development years, and of course, my dad, my hero. He's going to tell you a little bit about why he thinks he's going to be standing up here. What I know is that his initial work, as Omar Farmer mentioned, actually built the infrastructure, the trajectory for EEO and DEI to try and give people, primarily black people and people of color and females, equal opportunities at jobs and just being. So with that, my father is going to turn 89 in about 3 weeks. So I want you to give him your attention and your ear because he speaks very softly now. And don't start until I get the video going. Oh, I forgot. So we have a surprise plaque from the governor of Kentucky. It goes on, but talks about him commissioned as a pioneer. And so we'll go over that with him personally, but I'm gonna, should I leave it up on the table? Okay, so people can have a chance to see it. Surprise from Buddy. Sorry about that.
Thank you, sir. And thank this wonderful crowd. Omar, you should know that I spent many days developing, I thought, an effective speech to please you, to please our crowd. And now that I'm almost 89 and cold and my eyes are watering because I'm so pleased to be here that I'm going to make it short, with your permission. I had the pleasure of being a Marine for a number of years, more than 12 years on active duty, and I was, I'm sure you all remember, in 1961, I was a young lieutenant in Hiroshima, Japan, and I found that two-star general, whom I didn't work for, I worked for a major, had made an error in that he decided to take the advice of someone that a black Marine or naval person had stolen some money from the officers club and was going to make it off the base. Therefore, he decided to shut down the whole base. It's a Friday. If I'd attempted to go through the proper chain of command, the weekend would have been over. So I went to his quarters and confronted him, and he was not happy with me. And I thought my career as a Marine might soon be over. He chewed me out, but subsequently decided my suggestion made sense, and he allowed the troops to go on duty, on a pleasurable weekend. After that, unknown to me, he met with some other generals and it referred to me as a diplomatic militant, whatever that is. But because of that, another general had headquarters sent for me, and so I spent some time at another naval air station at El Toro in Santa Ana, and after that I was immediately sent, not immediately, soon sent to the largest military base we have in the Marine Corps, Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, California, which has roughly almost 40,000 people on it, including civilians and a naval hospital, etc. And the general I met there, who became a lifelong friend, said to me, "Hi, I want to see you every morning at 8:30, and I know you think you've been working, but I want you to take the weekend and come back with 5 or 6 pages of what we should do to ensure we don't have the violence that is going on throughout the Marine Corps." And shortly thereafter, a 4-star Air Force command up in Sacramento completely shut down for a week over race violence. He said, "Take a weekend and come back, and we'll discuss this." I found that that gentleman, who became a lifelong friend, said simply, "We don't study things too long. We take action. And you and I are going to do this, or we're going to get fired. We're going to go down smoking." So the moral of that story, subsequently, this program called Human Relations, which involved many things. The GI, Mexican American GI Forum, is the equivalent of the NAACP. I joined that, became a leader of that. I spoke at the national convention. I participated in a lot of things, and had many of these organizations quarterly have lunch on the base at our expense so we could get ahead of potential problems. The moral of that story is, years later, a couple of years later, a naval officer, who at that time was a 3-star admiral, had a mutiny on one of his carriers, and a famous naval officer, which this man knows, he had a history. Buzz Zumwalt was his name, and I think he was probably the pioneer chief of naval operations in history, because he too thought you get a little information, but then you take action. You do something, and if you do it wrong, you fix it and keep going. But you must provide the support you're supposed to bring to the military. In this case, his carrier group was supposed to be supporting an Army regiment in offensive capacity, and the ship's captain was hiding in his chair saying he had no control over the ship. Well, if you haven't been in the Navy or the Marine Corps, I won't try and tell you what Admiral Zumwalt had to say to him. But it wasn't pleasant, and he was fired before Zumwalt even got there. But both men were pioneers in the sense that we, as a military, all of us, and it doesn't matter what service you're in or what capacity you're in, if you do your job, this country would endure and be safe, and always needs improvement. And the military needs improvement. But I think civilians, with rare exception, have no idea of the diligent efforts that people in all of the services, including the Coast Guard, provide day in and day out to ensure the success and the peace of this great nation. And I've cut short what I've spent days trying to say, but I'll put it this way. 40 years ago, I didn't know how to cry. Today I do. I thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Sue Stewart, the president of the Military Officers Association of America Alameda chapter, to the stage.
Hi, I'm Captain Sue Stewart, JAG, retired, Navy, and I have to thank Major Jackson for kind of setting the ground for not only people of color in the military, but also women. When I was born in 1963, my grandfather, a Navy pilot, said, "Too bad she's a girl. She won't be able to serve in the military." Well, thank you, Major Jackson, for setting the HR ground, because it allowed me 20 some years later to join the Navy and have a career of 23 years. But service by Major Jackson wasn't just in the military, as you've heard. It's also been post-military. And one of the things that Major Jackson has really done in the local community is been a member of our chapter in Alameda County of the Military Association of Officers. And he has shared his wisdom, his history, and just, I can't even describe it, how much he's helped our chapter and been such a lovely and wonderful member. And so I'm here today to give you a little token, nothing big, of our, so we have a little certificate, but more importantly, we have what's called a coin. And in the military, you coin somebody as an appreciation of all the hard work they've done. So on behalf of MOA and our Alameda County chapter, I want to coin the major. Thank you. All right, we'll put this right there. All right. Do you need? Okay.
All right, let's give him a round of applause again. Thank you, Major Jackson. All right, now we're going to have Edward Turner, a descendant of Sergeant Morrie Turner. Please join me at the stage, sir.
Hello, everybody. I'm Edward Turner, Morrie's nephew, and I'm honoring him. I have veteran housing for veterans, and that's in honor of my uncle. He got me to where I'm at today. He was my go-to person, and I'm just happy to be here and to honor him in a big way. Thank you.
All right, next we have the pleasure of having Steve Stanford Jr. Pardon? No, I'm not a junior. Okay, I'm sorry. Steve Stanford, Major General John Stanford's son. Please join me at the stage. Thank you.
We have John Stanford. That's what it was. But I didn't have that honor. I really just wanted to thank the Alameda County Veterans Association, Councilmember Fife, Dr. Mayfield, and everybody who was responsible for putting this on, but especially you, Omar. This is a great honor. It's funny, when my dad was the commander of this base, I was in college just down the road, so I used to come here all the time, and to come today, it looks totally different than it did at the time. And I know he would be very proud to see that it's become one of the great ports in the country with, work they started doing 30, 40 years ago. So it's, I think, a great honor for the city of Oakland to have something like this here. This was, I think, in his career, which was a 33-year career in the military, which started out as an ROTC scholarship to go to college. He was the first to go to college. I think this was the command that he loved the most, and coming across the bridge every day, the quarters were actually on the San Francisco side, but he loved coming over here, and he would spend time here on the weekends in the auto shop working on cars because they were always breaking down and doing those kinds of things. But he loved it here, and felt like he was embraced by the community, and hoped that he gave something back. So again, this honor is very special to him. And so to all the honorees, it's a great honor and privilege to meet you. I know that he would be very pleased to share this honor with you, though to see Admiral Tony and to have a Marine here, he might want those someplace else, because this was an Army base after all. But despite that, he would love to share this honor with you. So congratulations to you as well, and thank you for providing this. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Steve. All right, so that doesn't completely conclude our ceremony. What we're going to do now is I'm going to invite the color guard to come back up to the podium, and we're going to post the colors. Side boys, get in position, please. And Major Howard Jackson, if you could also join me at the podium.
Yeah, I got it.
So we're going to transition the ceremony from here to the intersection where you see the flags covering the street plaques that are going to be unveiled. So you can either walk inside the cones there on Admiral Tony Way. The first corner that you're going to come to, that's where Sergeant Morrie Turner's street plaque is going to be unveiled. And Edward, if you would like to unveil that plaque, there will be a rope there for you that OCDOT will hand to you so you can do that. And then directly across the street is going to be, that's going to be Major General Stanford. So Steve, you can do that one on that corner. You should see the OCDOT boom out there. If not, I can direct you. And then the furthest one in the top right corner from here, that's going to be Major Jackson. So either Major Jackson or someone from his family, you can also unveil that street plaque. And afterwards, if you would like to join us back here for a brief reception, you are more than welcome to. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Color guard, post. It's okay, I got it. Side boys, hand, salute. Ready, two. That concludes our ceremony. Please join us at the intersection. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's like, I was treated really nice. Like, don't mess with
Had her request.
This is so incredible. She was brilliant. She went to UCLA and now she's working in major